This segment is brought to you by Pony Express. Check out the community edition and turn your Nexus 7 into a lean, mean pen testing machine. For all those hard to reach places, there's Pony Express. Visit them on the web at ponyexpress.com. And by Onapsys, the leading provider of solutions to protect ERP systems from cyber attacks. Customers can secure their SAP and Oracle business critical platforms from espionage, sabotage, and financial fraud risks. Visit them on the web at onapsys.com. And by Black Hills Information Security, the leaders in penetration testing and active defense. Email consulting at blackhillsinfosec.com to request a quote today. Don't forget to register for Source Boston coming up April 25th through the 28th. Looking for a career change? Tenable Network Security is hiring everything from programmers to researchers. Check out all of the available positions at securityweekly.com/tenablejobs. Security Week listeners receive a 10% off products in our store at shop.securityweekly.com with the discount code IHackNaked. Larry is teaching SANS 617 wireless ethical hacking and defense coming up in Austin, Texas. That's May 18th through the 23rd. Make sure you check that out. Welcome back, everyone, to Security Weekly. I'm here with our special guest, Dan McInerney. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Holy
Yes,
crap,
you did.
I said it right.
10 tries is
Wonderful
average.
to have you here. I want to read your bio because it's really awesome. Dan wasted several years of life studying psychology in college before realizing that A, he could teach himself everything he learned in college for free and more efficiently, and B, he didn't actually want to go to school for another 12 years just for a shot at a mediocre job. So he switched his router into wet mode, cracked it, and was immediately and permanently addicted. His education from there generally revolved around learning security concepts, then scripting it to Python to solidify the knowledge. This continued for the next several years until the end goal of his career was reached.
I'm here.
Getting on DePaul Security Weekly.
This is it. I quit.
Dan will likely cease all learning at this point as there is nothing left to achieve. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Thank you.
Very kind
Thank
words
you.
put inside of your bio.
Oh,
That's great.
yeah.
But you're here now. You hit a little traffic. We had shuffled things around. We had some catastrophic technical failures. Props to our technical team for hanging with us for that. Good job, guys.
So skilled.
That is real leadership right there, Paul. I like that.
Well,
Thought
thank you,
leadership,
thank you as
I'd say.
well. And I got a compliment of my leadership skills from Mike. I mean, the night just, I don't know how it could get any better from here, except to see your technical segment, Dan.
Well, I'm
Not
gonna
that I'm
retire
setting
after this,
expectations
so-
higher. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Go out with a
Can we
bang.
start with the philosophical questions? Yeah. which way do you put the sticker on the lid of your laptop? And was that intentional?
Yeah, so, the focus is for me, and the DEF CON's for everyone else.
Okay.
So,
DEF
put
CON's
this
not
up.
on the
Wow,
screen.
you
Other
actually
people-
put thought into it and
Yeah,
stuff.
Well, I kind of thought, well, focus, damn it, it's upside down. Maybe that's intentional.
Intentional.
Well, I mean, guys, he was briefly a
I can't say I'm that
psychologist.
creative. I really don't have anything cool to say about that, but I don't know.
You do have some cool Python scripts, though.
Some
Okay,
of them
I wanna
work,
hear
some of
about
them
it.
don't.
On with the show.
So
Okay.
why did you, what problems were you trying to solve with your Python scripts? Set the stage for us.
Okay, well, the very first one I ever wrote was I
Hello
just started
World.
learning Python.
No.
I skipped Hello World. I never really did
Yeah,
that.
it's kind of boring in Python.
Yeah, it's
Most
really-
languages, but anyway.
So I went through the Google class, the Google Python class. That's like 8 hours or something. And I felt like, okay, I know Python now, Let's go start writing scripts. So I wrote a tool that just checks your ARP cache. And then if your router ARP cache changes, then it pops up a little message and says, hey, looks like someone's ARP spoofing you. So would you like to nmap the attacker? Would you like to deauth the attacker? Or would you like to do both at the same time? And from there, I lost my mind when I was writing that. Like,
But if you deauth them and then try to...
okay, well, you nmap them first, and then it deauths when the nmap is
Gotcha.
done.
Sorry.
I'm not even sure if that ever worked, but that was the idea. But I just lost my mind to that script. I remember it must have been 4 or 5 a.m., and I texted my dad, and I'm like, hey, Dad, I finished my first script. I've been going at it for, oh, my God, 12 hours. Had no idea. Hadn't eaten or slept or drank or, gone to the bathroom or had a cigar, nothing.
It's amazing what Adderall and Red Bull can do for you.
I wish. I wish. I had that personality that I just get sucked into obsessions, and this one is the one that really stuck. Before this, it was paintball.
Yeah. I have a background in paintball, too.
Really?
Yeah, anyway.
I thought I was going to do that for the rest of my life too, because this is the way my mind operates. It gets focused on one thing, and that's it. That's my life.
You're in good company. We're not obsessive people at all.
I wouldn't think so. Y'all seem calm and rational.
All right. So what's this one you got up
So
here
I've
now?
got 5 scripts here. They're all really simple, short scripts to do a basic thing in security in general. So the one I have up here is called async requests. So one of the important things you'll want to do when you're writing security scripts is often pull down the HTML and scrape a website or something. And you'll want to do that fast. You don't want to do that sequentially. So you've got a list of URLs. You want to hit them all just to see if a vulnerability exists or something.
What's that? Sorry. Can we get Dan's screen up or? Oh, we're looking at your secondary
Oh,
monitor.
God. Oh, God. What's up?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. It's pictures of something.
Well, it kind of goes along with my line of thinking too, because he said hit them all to get them quick. I was thinking
Can you
picking up
mirror
those.
the screen rather than?
Let me find out. Oh, God. They're all up.
All right, listeners, just listen to the music.
Do, 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 do.
While we solve this minor technical problem,
Yes.
Not sure.
please listen to 10 minutes of fine management leadership consulting from Michael Santacolangelo.
That's a new one. Angelo. I like that one.
I
John.
think
That
that's
was
what
nice.
those 2 dots on top of the A sound like.
Can you drag those windows over to your secondary monitor?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can do
Why don't we
that.
do that?
Or
Is it up?
Please come take a pub
Now I
quiz.
can't see
There
it,
we go.
though.
Yeah, and I look at
Oh,
it.
okay, I got
Yeah,
you.
now make it bigger.
Perfect.
Now the
There we
butcher's-
go.
Now make the
There we
text
go.
bigger. Can you make the text bigger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Nah.
beautiful.
Oh,
rocking.
that's some Python code. I love it.
Good old Vim.
I'm excited.
So,
And back to our program.
so
Blood rushing to inappropriate places.
like how Nikto works and stuff, Nikto hits a whole bunch of URLs, and then if it, if one of the URLs comes back 200, it's like, oh my God, I found a vulnerability. So let's say you want to write a script like that. This is an async request script. It uses the requests library, and it uses the gEvent library for asynchronous requests. So we start off importing gEvent. gEvent is an asynchronous library. It's a little bit older, but it's nice and stable and super simple. The more modern asynchronous library is async.io for Python 3.2, and I think it's called Trollius for Python 2.7. I've used that one. It's pretty good. I just have more experience with gEvent, and I think gEvent takes less like code. There's just less to write, and I'm really lazy, so that's always going to be the way to go. So I went for gEvent. gEvent does a monkey patch, and you have to import that one first. So we do the gEvent monkey patch, then we import the pool and the join all and whatnot. And then we create some arguments. The arguments are really simple. You just use the argparse library, create the argument parser object, add an argument here. We're going to make it connections. So this will tell you how many concurrent connections you want to make at the same time. Next up, we go to the concurrency function. And this is where you actually make all the requests concurrent. And see, it's only like 2 or 3 lines. It's really easy.
That's really cool.
Pool. The pool is just going to be the args.connections is how many concurrent connections you want. So you create the pool object with the amount of connections you want. Then you start all the jobs. And you do that with a list comprehension. And a list comprehension is basically just a one-liner for making a list. You kind of start at the end when you read it. So you go for URL in URLs, pool.spawn, make request.
Because they're lists, not
Yes.
arrays.
Right.
There's no such thing as an array in Python.
There is no such thing as an array. And so what this does is it spawns the make request function with URL as the argument. And we can see the make request function right below there.
Now, is it crawling the website?
It's just pulling down the HTML. We're just scraping in this script.
A single URL.
Yes.
Okay.
So what we do here is we set the user agent, and then we try and get the request. We use the request library. Request library is the way to go if you're going to be scraping stuff or
Love the
making
request
requests.
library.
So easy. It's just like, it really is HTTP for humans, as they say. So we set the timeout, we set the URL we want it to get, and then we set the headers just to be the user agent. And the user agent has to be in a dictionary. So we return that. Then we can actually do something with the response we get. And that is going to happen in the do something with response function, surprisingly. So we have HTML is going to be the response object, .text.strip. And .text just gets the HTML, .strip just makes it a little sexier, removes a couple white spaces from the beginning and the end. And so what we're doing in this script is just getting the first line of the HTML. And so in the main function, you'll see I have 10 different, I think 11 URLs. They're all the same. It's all security week. And then you just call concurrency, the function concurrency, with the URL list. And that should give us the first line of text, first line of HTML from these websites. So let's zoom in a little bit, and we'll see if that works. Okay, so see, it just sped them out real fast. What if you do concurrency 1? This would make it synchronous. So now it should just do it one at a time. So you can see how much faster it is to do it asynchronous versus just synchronous. Way easier. But this is something I use all the time, this sort of recipe for getting lots of URLs at the same time, because that's something that I end up doing a lot in my scripts. The next script is going to be the Shodan search.
Oh, so sorry, on that first script, you could put search in there too to grab
Oh, yeah.
the HTML page, search for something, and print
Exactly.
it out,
So this
which
is just a recipe
that
script
could be
you're building
something
off.
you'd want to do. Yeah.
So you can do like a find string in there. You know, are you looking for successful login? Then you're going to go
comments,
for
looking for comments.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
a lot of web app scanners will parse the HTML and spit out
It
comments. which
starts
becomes
as a
interesting.
0 day, and when he puts the search terms in, then it's an exploit.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
So this is just really basic how to get HTML from a website really fast and get lots of them.
Cool.
The second script is going to be how to search Shodan, the world's greatest search engine. God,
Nice. We'll
it's
drag
incredible.
that window over so we can see it,
Okay.
and then make it bigger. That's a pretty short script.
It is very short. It's really easy to use this library. So we're just going to import Shodan. In order to install these libraries, you just use pip install libraries, like pip install Shodan. I think it's pip install python-shodan. So we're going to import those libraries. We're going to create the arguments. Looks like we need an API key for Shodan searches, and we're also going to have an argument for the search term. So we'll go down to the search, and this is just super simple.
Which field are you searching for? An IP, or like which field are you searching?
So if you went to shodan.com, it's
Yeah.
just like typing whatever you want in the
so
search
you put
bar.
your regular expression in there,
Yeah, yeah.
or whatever, or your
Yeah, yeah.
Shodan expression, I guess.
Yeah, they have like a
would be.
weird syntax for like ports,
yeah.
searches,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. We're going to do a really simple one for routers. So you can set your API key either as an argument or
But
you
wait,
can set
no
it
one
right here.
exposes their routers to the internet.
I've been surprised, Paul. I've been surprised. I think you would be too.
Shocking.
So one of the other tools I wrote was called Device Farmer, and it's basically this script with a lot more stuff on it. All it does is you can search Shodan, and then it'll try and log into all the results with a default username. And
And you never get any hits on that.
My God, it's terrifying. The whole idea behind Device Farmer was I sat down at my table and I didn't have any tools to work on, and I feel like my life is just listless and worthless if I don't have any like fun Python projects. So I'm like, what would give me the most power if I wanted to build a botnet? It's like, how could I build the biggest botnet in the shortest amount of time? I'm like, well, Shodan, probably. Shodan with default search terms. So I whipped up that script, Device Farmer. That's actually the only script I have that is also in the Kali repos.
No, nice.
Quite happy about that.
That's awesome.
So we'll continue on this one. So API is just going to be the Shodan.Shodan API key. So it's just the API object. IPs and ports will be the list of IPs and ports that come up in the results. And then all the results come from this simple line right here. Results equals API.search, search, and then page equals 1. So you can set which page. I think there's like 50 results per page. So we're just going to get the first page. And search is obviously just the search term. That's going to be args.search.
And you're just returning a single IP address and port.
It's going to return all the IP addresses and ports for the first page of results.
Right. Not the header, the banner, or
No,
anything
no.
like that. You could return
You
that
could.
if you want.
You could if you wanted to. Not in this script, though. So we'll have a little print here, total results, and the first page. And then we'll go through the results. It's really easy to go through the results. They're stored in a dictionary. So for R in results of matches, the IP is going to be the result with IP strings, the key. So that'll get you the IP. And then port, obviously, is the port. Really easy stuff. I mean, you can teach your kid this. And then IP ports, just concatenating those together so it's one string. And then we'll print it. So if we get any exceptions, this isn't ideal for exception handling in Python. Generally, you want to be very explicit when you're handling exceptions. You want to see accept IO error or accept, I don't know, some other exception, a very specific exception. In this case, we're just catching all of them because it's just a simple recipe script. And then the main function that gets called when you call the script is going to say create the args, get the API key from the args, get the search from the args, and then runs Shodan search, which is this function right here, the one we just went over. And so we can check this out. I hope I still have my API key here. We'll search common router, the DIR 300. I think that's Netgear. That's a pretty common home router. -A. Oh, we do. So actually, you can find.
D-Link? D-Link.
Yeah, I think it's D-Link.
D-Link.
And see all the results right here. So
really cool.
these are all the home pages of the routers. What's curious is that even though they're all the same router, they actually serve up their page on different ports. Like some are 80, some are 8080. I was actually going to start off by just showing the IP address, but I realized that the port's different all the time. I don't know if people set that different or if it's
People
different
probably
like
change
firmware.
that because a lot of ISPs, home ISPs, probably still block.
Oh,
40.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some weird ones in there, but you can see it's super easy. So you can search for a basic router, and then you can add on to this script with, you can use like the mechanized library to find login forms. You can use basic authentication. So like the device farmer script I use, it checks for basic authentication first, and then it uses mechanize to find login forms based on the name of the object in HTML, and then just tries to log in, and it tells you the title and all that good stuff.
Cool.
The third script, we're going to check out an Nmap parser. Nmap parsing is pretty important. Let me see if I can find my mouse. I found it.
It's right there on the
Oh,
laptop.
God, I'm so
Oh.
silly. I found it. There it is. This is a script to parse Nmap results. So from an XML file. This is really handy. The libnmap is the Python library that we're going to use for this. Libnmap is not super, I don't know, what's the word? Detailed or like,
Complex.
It's pretty simple, yeah. I don't really like, you can run an Nmap scan using the library, but I don't really see the point. Like, why wouldn't you just use subprocess, which is the Python library for calling commands, and just run the Nmap command
just
that
run
way?
it,
Right.
yeah,
So,
I gotcha.
so I don't really see the point of that. So this one is actually just going to parse XML results. And so this way you can take an Nmap scan right at the start of your pen test, and then use that to build off and say run Nikto on everything that comes up port 80. So I wrote a script I'm writing a script right now called a pen test machine that basically just, you give it an Nmap XML file, and then it runs through a brute force for SNMP strings. It checks all the network file shares, and just spits out all that information into a text file, just to sort of save some time. That's where this script originated. This was the beginning of that pen test machine script, which isn't quite complete, but saves me a lot of time. So we're going to start off with argparse is the library for getting the arguments from the command line. Libnmap is the actual main library in this case. And we don't actually need the whole library. We only need pieces of it. So we're going to say from libnmap import nmap process. And we'll also say from libnmap import the parser, which parses the XML stuff, and the nmap parser exception, obviously, which just handles the exceptions. So we'll create the arguments. -x will give you, you give -x the XML file that you're writing or that you've already done. And then, or you can give it a host list. So you can just give it a whole bunch of IP addresses to have it scan, do an nmap scan itself. I don't think this script actually has the ability to kick off an nmap scan, so we'll get rid of that. So the main function is going to be report parser. And here, actually, we'll skip down because this one gets run first.
Oh, and Dan, I want to point out, so what editor are you using?
Vim.
And you're using what to navigate through them?
Just,
Not the arrow keys, right?
right, not the arrow
So
keys.
proud, Dan. So proud.
Does anyone use arrow
Wow,
keys?
dude.
So
No,
proud.
no.
Your hand has to move like a pretty far distance.
Far, right?
It doesn't
think
make
of
sense.
how many hours in the day, in the year.
It's
that
like hitting the
solves.
escape button. It drives me crazy. In Vim, trying to hit the escape button with your pinky, it's like reaching all the way out there. So I switched out my caps lock key for escape, and now I just move, 1 centimeter.
Oh, that's awesome.
Saved me years of
Years
my
of your life.
It's incredible.
I'm so proud. That is so awesome right there.
My buddy actually had a really roundabout way of solving this. So there's a place up called the Transistor up in Utah, which is a hackerspace up there. Kind of got combined in with DC801, another awesome hackerspace. And my buddy's like, man, I hate hitting the escape key on Vim. So I think I'm going to solve this by, I'm going to make a pedal. I'm going to make a pedal that when you hit it, it hits the escape key. And I'm like, this is great. This is such a good idea because I hate hitting the escape key too. And then it took me about 30 seconds to think, wait a second. Can't I just remap a key that's closer to my hands? Like, why?
But no, I like that though, the integration of your feet
It
into
is.
VI.
It's a good
That's
idea.
A fantastic idea, actually. You could use both your feet and both your hands when editing in VI.
Drummers would be amazing at that.
Amazing.
You just tap away. Man. Double bass drum escapes. That'd be incredible. Aaron Christensen's the guy that came up with that idea. Funny dude. So we'll look at the main function here. So we'll create the args, and then we'll get the report, which just comes from the Nmap parser. This is the actual programmatic thing you're going to interact with, the report here. And it's super easy to get the report. You just nmap parser.parsefrom file and give it a file. There's nothing to it. So then you just give report parser that report, and this is where we're actually going to start printing off the results and looking at the results in granularity. So for host in report.hosts, that's how you get the hosts, just report.hosts. IP equals host.address. And then if the host is up, then we're going to first set the host name to NA, just in case the host name doesn't exist. And then right below that, if the host name does exist, we'll change the host name to the first host name that comes up from the Nmap results. Then we'll just make a little quick format for the IP and the host name. So this will just print the IP and host name. And we'll move down a little bit here. And for S and host.services, this is where you actually get into the ports that are open, closed, and the services that are running on those ports. Really easy to check that. Obviously, just check if the service.open. And if this is true, then we continue on to this. And the service will be s.service, the port's s.port, banners, s.banner. I mean, this library is great. You can read it almost like English. And then this is where you actually do something with the data you pulled off. So this is where, in this print data function, this is where you'd actually say, hey, if port 80 is open, then run Nikto.
I gotcha.
Subprocess or something like that. But this is where you actually start messing with the data that you pulled off there. So first we're going to check the banner. And the banner will only show up if you do it like a dash SSV or dash SV, which is the verbose mode in Nmap. And it'll get you like the actual version numbers and stuff like that. So we'll get the banner if it exists. If the banner does not exist, then we'll just print the port and the service. If the banner does exist, then we'll print the port, the service, and the banner. So nice and simple. And we'll see how this works. Live demos. God, I'm just terrified of them. I think I scanned for the top 10 ports, for SecWeekly. SecurityWeekly.com, I just did an Nmap scan for the top 10. It looks like this. Sudo nmap-s.
See how good Chris's IP tables, provided someone didn't disable the IP tables.
Oh, I've already scanned it, so.
You
We're
did,
good.
Paul, but thank you for disabling it.
I haven't disabled it recently.
So we'll run nmap parser-x, and we'll give it the XML file, which is going to be secweek.xml. And so we see one host is up, because we only scanned one host, obviously. And that's going to be the host name is securityweekly.com. The IP is 4333. Oh, God, I hope you don't get hacked from this. I mean, I just gave your IP address out.
I think people could probably find the IP address and determine that port 80 is open on our web server.
I've been on Xbox Live, and people tell me when they get my IP address, I'm going to get hacked.
That's
so
right.
I'm worried about that sometimes. So we see that only port 80, of the top 10 ports I scanned, only port 80 is open. And product:/Apache HTTPD, that comes from using the verbose, or the, is that what it is? -SS, or -SV is verbose.
-SV will determine the service.
Right.
There are some extra plugins.
What is that supposed to mean, though?
Well,
Is it short for something?
It just maps I don't know what the V means, but it maps the service. There's actually Nmap NSE scripts that will pull the raw banner
Right.
from the host. You need actually separate scripts to enable to get the raw banner.
Yeah. So you can see how you could use this script to just automate something off an Nmap scan.
Nice.
Really simple, really easy.
When did you run the scan? Just out of curiosity.
About 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
Okay, good. It means some of the security things we did are working. Because notice how you didn't get the version of Apache.
I didn't. That's true.
That was on purpose.
So what did you do to do
Or
that?
the other stuff that's running.
Or the other stuff that's running. So you must have done IP tables then.
No, I did not.
Oh, that's interesting.
I just secured the applications that were exposed to the internet really well.
Yeah.
Beautiful. This man. There's two more scripts here. One of them is going to be a Google searcher. The inspiration, obviously, is for Google Dorks. I mean, if you want to run Google Dorks and you want a lot of Google Dorks, I actually started writing this because I wrote a script called Shell Shock Hunter. So Heartbleed came out, and I didn't really quite grasp it. I felt like a month afterwards, I understood it. I could probably start scripting something for it. But Shell Shock finally came, and I'm like, I'm not missing this opportunity. I'm definitely getting in Shell Shock ground level. So I actually made a script that searches Bing and Google for Shell Shock dorks, and then tests them all with a little echo, a little Shell Shock exploit, which I don't know, that's probably on the edge of
That's
legality or whatever. But I never actually ran it. I mean, I never tested the script. I just wrote it.
It's all hypothetical.
Exactly. And so that's where this script came from. This script is also really actually pretty useful for Google Dorks against clients. So I have like a script called Fast Recon that just does a Google Dork for extension types for like .doc and Excel and files named password and directory listings and stuff like that. It just pops up a Firefox window and has like 10 different tabs, and you just go through the tabs, and that's where this comes from. So we're going to start off, obviously, importing Python stuff. Sys
You got
time.
to drag your window over.
Oh, that's right.
Make the text really big.
Keep forgetting.
I saw on Twitter that people say they have
small?
trouble reading it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Phrasing.
Oh, that is big.
That's better.
Nice and big.
That's what she said.
So we're going to use the Selenium library mainly in this one. Selenium is a sweet library. You can do so much. If you can do it with a keyboard and a mouse and a foot pedal, you can do it with Selenium. So what we're going to do is import WebDriver, which is the actual browser in the first one. Then we'll do WebDriver.
Selenium is just like WebKit, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really simple.
Yeah.
Really similar. We'll import a couple things here. Select just selects objects on a page. WebDriver wait tells it to wait a little bit. We'll import the exceptions to make sure that we can catch those. And then keys is the what you'll need to use when you want to send like Control T or you want to send any kind of key input. You got to use the keys from Selenium. So we'll start off with creating a couple arguments: the search argument and the pages argument. Pages argument defaults to 1. ArcParse is also a pretty sweet
So
library.
a question with the Selenium.
Yeah.
Some web application scanners will use Selenium trail files. So you set up Selenium, log in your application, tell it to grab all the authentication, and then you upload that script into your web app scanner.
That's pretty sweet.
I'm assuming you could probably do that in a Python library.
I'm sure. I can't see any
and
reason
get
why
the
you
same
wouldn't be able
trail
to.
file.
You just can't get off that web application
Hey,
scanning.
It's been
can you,
my
Paul?
life for like 2 weeks. So
Oh man, I wrote a script called XSS Scrapey using the Scrapey library,
Yeah.
and it goes through and looks for cross-site scripting, this brings me back to eBay. You said that
Yeah.
one guy reported an eBay one. I used XSS Scrapey and found one right in their search bar, and they got back to me. It was probably 3 months. It wasn't that bad.
interesting.
I thought they were pretty on top of their stuff. But anyways,
That's only a 90-day compared to the 365-day.
That's right.
yeah.
That's not bad.
And if you look
So
at their
you got one more script you can show us. We're running short on time.
one more
Okay.
script.
Pick the best one.
It's actually the most complicated one, but we'll go through it real fast. Let's move this over.
Move it over and make it big. Giggity. Giggity.
So this is probably the most complicated one I'll show you. It's how to use Scapy. I know you guys have gone over Scapy 1,000 times in here. What I haven't seen is a good example of how to keep track of TCP streams. Because if you want to do things like inject code or read authentication, you need to keep track of TCP streams in order to figure out where that first packet is and what the second packet is and so on and so forth. So real fast, we go over these imports. We set the args. iFace Finder is just a real quick way to automatically find a Linux interface, so you don't have to do like -I and then the interface.
Oh, I ran into that in one of my. Does that work cross-platform?
No, this only works in Linux because see what we're doing here,
Yeah, I had.
key
Yeah,
open.
I see it. I gotcha.
which sucks, but I mean
I had one that I had to do cross-platform and get the right interface.
that is
That's-
such a nightmare.
I think I had to write special code for each platform. I thought Python was supposed to be. Never mind.
It's a nightmare to do that.
Anyway.
Anyways,
yeah.
so that just finds the interface automatically.
Yeah,
So
people
for-
would do it in Java, Paul.
Yeah, Java's supposed to be cross-platform too. So I've heard.
So to actually like start concatenating all these packets into one thing, like the real use for this is for when there's multiple packets fragmented up, and so you can put those fragments back together and then search all the output of those fragments. And that's for searching for like username, passwords, and post packets. Sometimes they get fragmented up, and if you don't do this,
I gotcha.
you won't get them. And a lot of scripts don't do that. A lot of scripts do not care about concatenating fragmented packets if they're not using an HTTP proxy, which is strange. So what we're doing here is we're setting a dictionary. Dictionary is packet frag loads, and we're going to set the key as the IP and the port. So if the packet comes in and the source IP and port is equal to the key in this packet frag loads, then we'll move on and check if the acknowledgement. So each packet has a sequence and an acknowledgement number, and which kind of keeps track of the sequence of the packets in the TCP stream. So we'll check if the ACK is inside this dictionary of packet frag loads, and if it is, then we'll concatenate the old load, which is packet frag loads dictionary, with the key of source IP port and another key of ACK. So it's a nested dictionary. We'll concatenate those together and then return it as an ordered dictionary. And then whenever we want to remove things, we use this frag remover class, frag remover function right above it, which I'm skipping. There it is. And so this just makes sure that we never get more than like 50 concurrent TCP streams that it's keeping track of. Otherwise, you'll run out of memory like real fast. That gets pretty complicated here because we're just. I'm sure there's a better way to do this. There's a library called PyNIDS, which is for intrusion detection, and I think that can do TCP stream reassembly. The other alternative to doing TCP.
I'm sorry. Does this do this live or based on a packet capture? Well, you're getting the interface, so it's probably live.
You can do either one.
Either one. Okay.
So PyNIDS, I think, is an alternative to this. The other alternative is to use an HTTP proxy, and you can use like an HTTP proxy, simple HTTP server. I think you can do it through that, and that automatically keeps track of the streams and packet fragmentation and stuff like that. The problem with that is it's really slow. It really slows you down. So if you're a man in the middling somebody, if you're ARP spoofing somebody, you are just coming to a crawl. I mean, this is what SSL strip does. SSL strip uses an HTTP proxy, and it's just so slow. It's just crazy slow. So this is a script for using Scapy to pull it down. And I'll show you that last line here. We're actually sniffing. Scapy is awesome because you can sniff it really quickly. All you got to do is this line right here. So once you start,
line. Nice.
yeah, you just start up the script and you just use this sniff function from Scapy.
And it takes care of all that back end stuff for you.
Takes
That's
care of
nice.
everything back end. So you got the iFace. This is the function that's going to be the callback. For every time it gets a packet, the packet will go to packet parser.
Gotcha.
And store 0 means we're not storing any of the packets.
You'd process them on the fly.
Right, we're processing them on the fly. And this is where you process them real quick.
Have you heard of CX Tracker?
I haven't. No.
Oh, okay. That's one of the pieces of code you can install if you're doing OpenFPC, and that's for doing connection tracking as well.
That sounds like it might be an excellent way to do this too. So right here, we're just getting the packet. We're making sure the packet has a TCP layer and a raw layer. Because if you only do, if you only check for has a raw layer and has an IP layer, then you're going to get Ethernet packets for some reason that don't have any kind of interesting load. And so you got to get rid of those. So if it has Ethernet, has a raw layer and an IP layer, you just get rid of it. Just ignore it. So it has to have TCP and a raw layer. And then we check the ACK, the source IP and port, the load. The load is actually like the content of the packet. So, after the headers, whenever you log into a website, the packet load will contain your username and your password string. So that's why we're usually interested in that. We'll make sure to keep the packet fragment dictionary low, and then we will concatenate the load into the full load using that packet frag loads dictionary again. And this is where you can actually do something with the packet. So now you have a full packet. All the fragments are concatenated. You can keep track of TCP streams and whatnot. And this is where you can actually start doing something with it. You can search it for, username. You can search it for the word password. You can do that kind of thing. And so we'll do a quick demo here. And man, I'd be blessed if all these worked. It'll automatically find the interface. Sudo bang bang.
Sudo bang bang.
That's the way to go. And if we want to generate any traffic, we'll actually. So you can't actually. We can't actually sniff other people's traffic on like a wireless network because it's all encrypted and stuff. You can sniff your own. You'd have to ARP spoof them if you want to see somebody else's traffic. But you can see this is the packet summary from Scapy. It's got an Ethernet frame. It's got an IP layer, an Ethernet layer, TCP layer, and it also has a raw layer. And the P and A's are ACKs. I forget what the P stands for. But that just tells you, the
Push,
IP address.
push
Push ACK is right.
Sweet.
So it's really easy to interact with packets using this. So I
Now,
hope that
all these are available on your GitHub.
Yes, I just put
Okay.
all these up on GitHub.
And what's your GitHub address?
Dan
Which one is that?
McInerney.
Dan McInerney.
Nice and easy, simple.
Awesome.
You don't have to be able to pronounce it. You just have to be able,
Be able
to
to
spell it.
Yeah. The beauty is that my GitHub is like 30 different projects long. Part of that's because Coalfire lets me work. They have something called PD, which lets you just work on your own projects, kind of like Google 20% time. And I remember I talked to Harmjoy at my first DEF CON, and I asked him, does your company let you develop this on their time? And he's like, oh, yeah, of course. And I'm like, oh, my God, I have to find something like this. My life will be complete if I can get a
Nice.
job that'll let me work on this at work. And they do.
Awesome. Well, Dan, thank you very much for appearing on Security
Sure.
Weekly.
My pleasure.
That rounds out our show for this evening. Again, you can find Dan McInerney's
Brilliant.
GitHub page
Brilliant.
and get all the scripts and more. So it's awesome that you shared those, Dan. Very, very cool stuff. Thanks to everyone who participated in the stories of the week. Mr. Jack Daniel here in studio, gone again for 3 weeks, but then back, hopefully.
Right.
We wish you well on your travels. Jeff Min, always nice having you in studio as well.
A pleasure. Thanks.
Our fellow hosts via Skype, Not Kevin, Joff Thayer, and Michael Santarcangelo. I get that right?
Yeah, you nailed it.
I have to say it right.
You're
See?
killing it right now.
Couple of
Killing
drinks
it.
in, Mike. I'm golden. I can say
know the
McInerney.
recipe
I can
now.
say Santarcangelo. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, Paul, you really got mine well. Yeah, I really appreciate
Not
it.
Kevin.
Thank
Gotcha.
you. Yeah.
I gotcha. I gotcha.
Not Key Vine?
He had to work up. He had to work up to that, though.
That's right.
Don't take that away from him.
Well, thanks everyone for listening. And I do want to say a special thank you to all of those who voted for us. They put something on the board that shouldn't. I don't want to put my middle.
Not
it's
that
not a
finger.
This is our award for best security podcast in 2015. So thank you to everyone involved with the show, all the people that listen, all the people that helped make this show happen. Thank you very much. Very proud of that. And that rounds out the show. So thanks everyone. We'll see everyone next week.
Over and out.
Are you supposed to eat the cherry?